Welcome to the IAKS Insider. So it's our new feature where we are speaking to some of the biggest movers and shakers in the industry, hearing the work that they're doing to facilitate an active world. I'm your host, Becky Gemenis, and today we have a very special guest with us, David Burns. David is the founder and CEO of Collective Leisure. He also leads WSYD Moving and serves as the director of DB Consulting. You lecture at Western Sydney University and UTS, and we're very excited to have you here today to talk about the recent WSYD symposium that took place in Sydney. So welcome, David.
Thank you for having me, Becky.
Before we jump in, it's quite the resume that you've got there. So where do you find time to fit everything in?
It's a bit of a cliche, but when it's passion, it doesn't feel like work. So it's a life's purpose. I feel very lucky to have so much joy in the work that I do. It's just, I suppose, it's the way I live my life, really. And yeah, it's busy, but it's a lot of fun.
So if we get to know you a little bit better, can you tell us a bit about your background, how you got started in the industry?
Yes, 24 years, Becky. I've been involved in the kind of sport, leisure, don't laugh, and physical activity sectors across England and Australia. But I think for a lot of us who are in our industry, it does stem from childhood. I had young parents who had some addictions, and it was quite chaotic at home. From the UK originally, and we moved to Germany when I was 5, and it was a bit challenging for me to kind of connect with the German kids, and so football became this kind of connector for me with the rest of the German children, and that way sport can connect people has always stayed with me and basically set me on a path of being in this industry for all those years. But I suppose it's very much about social justice for me, trying the best I can for us to have a fairer society.
Yeah. So I guess that leads into the work that you were doing to launch WSYD Moving as a charity. And the recent symposium was the official launch of that. So can you tell us a bit more about how WSYD Moving was born?
Yeah, sure. Well, day to day, I run a social enterprise called Collective Leisure, which is it's all about reducing health inequity within communities. And we've got a range of programs in community, and we love that work, Becky, and we feel like it's meaningful and it's having an impact. But we might be working in one community or one neighborhood, but what's happening down the road is the system's still the same. And there's a lot of good work happening, in Australia, in New South Wales, in Western Sydney. But as hard as we're trying, and as good as our programs are, health inequity, health inequalities, chronic disease is on the rise, and inactivity, the levels are going in the wrong direction. So the whole idea with Western Sydney Moving was how could we bring together the system. When I talk about the system, it's multi-sectoral, multi-layered, to come together to work more on a collaborative approach with a shared purpose to see how we could pool resources together and try and shift that needle of inactivity. So that was the I suppose the background, and there's a few inspirations as well along the way to get us going.
Yeah. And there's obviously a lot of people in the industry who are on board with this. You sold out tickets for the symposium. So how did that feel?
How did it feel? I don't know. I haven't really reflected on how that felt. I think it was just such a big moment, like nearly 3 years of getting to that point, Becky. Like trying to build the trust and relationships of this way of working, and we had 40 guest speakers there, 165 people representative of part of the Western Sydney system at CommBank Stadium. It was a full-on day. It was really exciting to launch the charity, health promotion charity, and our new wonderful board, which is representative part of the system as well, and we'll have a few more people joining us this year. But we also launched the white paper, which we co-authored with the Centre for Western Sydney at Western Sydney University, and that was a real strategic piece for us to really call out the challenge, but also look at some of the solutions.
So the white paper is titled Tackling Inactivity and Inequity.
Mhm.
A brief overview of what was discussed in that?
Yeah,
Like,
sure. So we had the chief economist, Professor Neil Perry, who quantified the cost of inactivity within Western Sydney. When I say Western Sydney, it's the 13 local government areas. So we go up to the Blue Mountains, Hawkesbury, South and Wollondilly, etc. And that cost of inactivity is an incredible figure of 1.5 billion annually of a cost to the health system. And that's with some metrics around, productivity loss, mortality rates, the health burden, to come up with that figure. And we knew if we could come up with that figure, then it could give us some leverage, hopefully, politically, to try and move forward with this work that is needed. Western Sydney's got a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of positives. It's a young, vibrant population, very multicultural. We have lots of green and blue spaces, so there's a lot of strength in there. But as I said, the system itself at the moment, there's some of those structural challenges, which it's harder for some of the population to get involved in sport, physical activity, and movement. And we've come up with a series of next steps and priorities for us to focus on as a system.
amazing. And the white paper is available to download on the website, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There for anybody to use, get in contact. This is a movement for movement, as we're calling it, and anybody can get involved. As this is, yeah, it's kind of everybody's challenge and opportunity really in this space.
Yeah. And so I've noticed you're very passionate about empowering communities. Can you elaborate a little bit on the idea of social entrepreneurship?
Uh, Yeah, it's interesting because it's these words that you feel like it might be this person that has got these special skills and experiences, but social entrepreneurship can be learned by anybody, and it's very much about being creative, looking at solutions. Um, you need a bit of resilience in there as well. You're having to look at uh, seed funding and pitching. You haven't maybe got the resources, but usually you're trying to tackle, an issue. I'd like to think if you're a social entrepreneur, you're trying to tackle one of some of the systemic issues that we've got, which we've got plenty of.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk a little bit about personal growth. Um,
Yeah,
24, 25 years in the industry.
yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Obviously, you've been super successful. What would you say is one of the most important lessons you've learned along the way?
Oof. I think we're always learning and we're never the finished article. I think that's important. So, we talk about growth mindset as in, when you're not good enough, it's maybe I'm not good enough yet, or it's a process. I've got challenges. I'm really dyslexic, and I struggled at school, struggled at college. But I think for me personally, it's persistence is important, and sometimes using those challenges that you've got, they can be sometimes your biggest gifts. When I look back, so that's personal to me. But I think for our industry, I think collaboration and building relationships is really important. And we're all humans at the end of the day, and how we connect with each other is really important. And that really talks to the work of Western Sydney Moving when we're, trying to build the networks and partnerships, relationships is really at a core what's important, I think.
Yeah, fantastic advice. I love it. So, looking ahead, what are you most excited about for Western Sydney Moving for the future?
Oh, well, we had a strategy day yesterday. It was our first one, Becky, where we got the board together and we looked at our first 12-month plan now that we're a registered charity. We took on feedback from the symposium where in the afternoon we held some World Cafe sessions where we asked the system a series of questions about, what's needed, what are the gaps, how can we work better together, what's the purpose of Western Sydney Moving. We've taken all that on board, tried to synthesize it, added with the white paper and come up with a bit of a plan. So we've got a bit of a roadmap for this year, and it's all a work in progress. It's about what emerges, going where the energy is. We've got some key next steps, for example, setting up local active partnerships at a place-based level, which are community-led, where we're trying to build those local networks, where that local system, really identifies what the needs are, the gaps, how we could start to work together, tailor solutions at that place-based level. So that's very exciting. We had our first one in Liverpool, which we facilitated with the South Western Sydney Local Health District and Liverpool Council. They wanted to do that bi-monthly, so we've got it in a couple of weeks, and we've got a few councils that we're speaking to and local health districts to roll them out. The vision is to have 13 of those in across Western Sydney. Each of them will be a little bit different because it depends on the strength and what's good and what's not. What needs a bit of support in them areas. We're also looking at a systems leadership course, which I'm very excited about, to support or really to build the capacity and capability within the system. So bringing in a cohort from all the different partners that we're working with to really look at this way of working, and then for them to go out and do some projects and a whole host of other things. But I'll stop there.
It is exciting. I didn't realize that things had already, I mean, I guess I just didn't appreciate things are already moving and happening. And so with the trying to get I've got 13 in my head. Is that something that you're trying to do by the end of the year?
Not necessarily. We need to get some investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some good meetings being had recently. I don't think it's far away, but yeah. So that really depends on the funding. I mentioned two things there. There's lots we want to do, but I just need to hold back a little bit. So just doing it incrementally. I've dedicated a lot of time to this.
Yeah.
So hopefully now, yeah, we'll get it funded. So it depends really. Maybe 4 or 5 this year, I think, of the local active partnerships.
Because obviously, like you just said, you've been working for this one for 3 years, right? Like just as a passion project. So then to try and hold back, like for us, it seems relatively new. You've launched the charity, and that's a new thing. But behind the scenes, there's been all that work going into it.
Yeah, and it does feel like we're at the start line now, and it's been like 3 years of training. Maybe I've never thought of it before, but maybe it's like the Olympics, but it's really creating those conditions for the system, really, to see and sense itself, but also to start working a little bit more collaboratively. It's just that we need to be a bit more effective. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But it's a different way of working, we're sometimes in silos. Health doesn't really talk to sport, leisure,
Yeah.
academia. It's bringing all those parties together. And we've got over 250 practitioners, academics and researchers now as part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important to get that multi-dimensional conversation happening.
Yeah.
Not just one industry that's effective. I mean, and that number before, the dollar value on what it's costing for people to be crazy.
Yeah. So we feel that if we can look at this with a little bit of funding to try and tackle that 1.5 billion, it just makes sense. The numbers make sense. We all want healthier, fairer communities. So hopefully, we're getting there. It's a process.
Yeah. Oh, it always is. I can tell that you're really passionate about this. If there are members in our network who want to get involved with Western Sydney Moving, how can they do that?
Oh, well, there's a invitation there for anybody to get involved. There's no cost. This is all about sharing, collaborating, connecting, supporting. We have a community of practice which we run bi-monthly online, and we always have a guest speaker. and then there's an opportunity to share what's going on and how we as a system can help. So that's virtual, and I can send out an invitation, and I'd love anybody who's interested to just become part of the network.
Yeah. Amazing. Just a little bit of a silly question to finish with. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, so Collective Leisure, Western Sydney Moving, where do you think you'd be? Professional footballer, maybe?
Well, that was always the dream. But I was always slow, and my nickname was Bulldozer Burns. So, as in, I wasn't that quick, and I had a cruciate injury when I was 18, and I never played football again. So I'd like maybe a professional footballer. Do you know what? That is a really difficult question to answer because I couldn't think about doing anything else.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. Congratulations on the
Pleasure.
of Western Sydney Moving.
Yeah.
Uh, it's going to be a big year, so we look forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm delivering a football program for people in their mental health recovery now. Been doing it for 27 weeks. So yeah, they've all got mental health conditions like bipolar, psychosis, mania, depression, anxiety, and we come together and play football for an hour and then an hour socialization. So for the City of Sydney Council. So it's good. Gives me my connection back with I need both. Like I need to have that on the ground stuff as
yeah.
well as this systems as well. So yeah, so going to do that now. Should be a bit of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. We'll enjoy.
Thank you. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Take care, mate. Bye.